Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to be talking about how Samurai Champloo's ending helped me with a breakup. Now, if you are unfamiliar with Samurai Champloo, it is one of the greatest animes of all time, in my opinion. Nujabes made the soundtrack for it, and if you don't know who that is, bro, you're missing out so much. Please look them up for your own good. Now, just a little background, right? I was in a relationship, and it was not a good relationship whatsoever, and I kind of knew the whole time while being in it wasn't a good relationship. But as all bad things hopefully do, it came to an ending, and I was still in school at the time, and to be honest, it was probably one of the hardest times I had been through, like up until that point at least, because it was, it wasn't out of nowhere, but it was just kind of leading up, and I just didn't want it to end. Bam, it did. It happens, right? It's not the end of the world. But at the time, it did feel like the end of the world. It's not really a clean transition to this, but I started watching Samurai Champloo pretty much around that time. And if you don't know what Samurai Champloo is, again, just a little quick rundown of what it is. There's two samurai. They're completely different, and they meet, and they're about to fight or something, right? And then this girl comes, and she hires both of them to help her find this random dude. Like, she's looking for this random dude that smells like sunflowers or something like that. That is the plot. And so even though they don't really like each other, they're trying to get paid or something like that. And so they go on all this journey. They go on, they fight people, they do all this stuff to try and find this dude. Now, obvious spoiler warning, because I'm going to be talking about how the ending helped, right, with the breakup. And so fast forward to the ending of the anime. What happens is these three people, right, they pretty much get what they needed to get done. They find who they were looking for and whatnot. And at the very ending, they all just walk their own path. Like, the two dudes walk completely opposite paths, and the girl walks, a completely different one. None of them stay together. They all leave. And at first, right, it was one of the first shows, maybe first anime, off the top of my head, I don't know, but it was one of the first shows, at least, that the ending wasn't just, oh, everyone stays and happily ever after, right? And even if the shows normally aren't happily ever after, usually people are still in the characters' lives, like, or everyone dies, and that's the ending. But this was one of the endings where it's like, it wasn't just as clean as, oh, this dude went with this, and they ended up making this pact, and it wasn't anything like that. To be honest, at the time, like, I mean, even now, it was probably the saddest ending I ever watched, ironically, even though it wasn't meant to be sad. And it was just because, I watched these three people, they're fighting, clash, and do all this stuff, and then they just dip with no second thought. I mean, maybe I think the girl kind of like hesitated, but the other dudes, they were like, whatever, I'm just walking on with life. At first, it was kind of like, damn, like, I did not like that ending at all. And I honestly was kind of resentful towards that ending. And for the next couple days, like, usually I just jump right to a different show and I start watching it, right? But the next couple days, I really just thought about the ending. Like, I couldn't even really dive into a new show yet because I was still like, bro, what happened? It felt kind of abrupt, and like there should have been another season, but at the same time, like, it was a very purposeful ending. Like, they ended the show purposely knowing that was the ending. And so, I thought about it for a couple days, and I believe, I was probably like at the dining hall when it kind of like hit me that the ending was actually really good. The ending was actually really, really good. Because like I said, up to that point, I had never watched a show where the characters, after knowing each other, going through a story and all this stuff, they literally just dip. I've never watched a show where it's literally like they do all of this stuff, and at the very end they just, well, I'll never see you again, peace out. But right, even though I've never watched an ending like that, that is how most of real life goes. And I'm not even trying to be depressing, but if you think about it, that's how most relationships, not like loving relationships, but just relationships with people in general, friendships and everything, that's usually how they go. If you zoom out on a long enough time horizon, even people you're really close with, I mean, it seems like a blink of an eye in the universe's span of time. And upon deeper reflection, I know that sounds like poetry, I don't even know why I said that, but when I thought about it more, right, the show kind of embodies what it means to love the journey instead of the ending. The show, or any show for that being, right? Any show, any anime, any movie, any book, really is just an instance in the main character or the character's lives. You never really ever get a book where it's like complete start to complete finish. You never really get that. I mean, maybe you do. I just can't think of an example off the top of my head, right? But like, even take like Hunger Games, right? They tell you the backstory, they tell you, you know, whatnot, and you see a whole glimpse of the life, but it's still kind of like that happened, like the Hunger Games. They don't show you, you know, every single second of the people's lives. They just kind of give you a highlight reel of it. Getting back to the topic of how it helped me through the breakup, right? It made me realize everything is like this. And so you can either only look forward to the ending, right? Only look forward to the ending, or up into that point, just enjoy the process. Just enjoy, you know, the moments that you get, the time that you get, which it sounds cliche, it sounds corny, but like, it's very true. And I can think of so many people I've met up to this point in my life. I've met a lot of people, even within like 1 year. Maybe like I've worked jobs where it's like I've worked them for like 4 weeks, and in those 4 weeks I get really close to people, I know people, and then, you know, you dip, right? Because, you know, you move states, you move countries, whatever. But that's just life, and it's not bad. It's not really a bad thing. That is just what happens, and it's more important to value and cherish the time that you have than it is to, you know, keep looking at those memories thinking, oh, what if we stayed in touch? What if you did, it wouldn't be as special. You know, if everything was certain, if there was no risk, nothing would be special. If we had infinite time, nothing would really be that special because we would get everything guaranteed. It is the absence of that certainty that makes those things valuable. That makes those relationships valuable, those friendships valuable. You meet people, you interact, you share a story together, and then you move on. I struggled with that for a long time, but I think at this point in my life, and when I watched that, right, it's, you know, it wasn't just yesterday that happened, but after that, it kind of changed my worldview to be like, you know, enjoy the present. And again, it's very cliche, but really, it's true. Enjoy the present. Not all losses that we suffer in life have to be depressing. You know, some are, you know, it's sad to let people go, whether it's, you know, a partner or a friend or whatever it is to you. But it's important that we look at it for what it is, right? Like, we value what the good was in it, if any. Some endings really just show that, like, they were just moments for us to appreciate, and that is okay. With all of that said, that contributes to the reason Samurai Champloo is low-key not my favorite anime, but one of my favorite animes of all time. Like, it really stood out, and if you've never watched it, even if you're not into anime, I totally suggest you watch it, because it's not like your typical anime. Even if you don't like anime, go watch Samurai Champloo. You'll even if you just end up liking the music, bro, it bangs. It bangs. Please take my word for it. Please. And if you don't do any of that, look up Nujabi's and listen to him. Oh my goodness, bro. Yeah, but anyway, thank you for watching. I really appreciate the watch time, and I love you. Have a great day.